another offering from the StandUpTalk Radio Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Sal's Comedy Hole podcast. We are broadcasting from Sal's Comedy Hole. We have a view of the stage. It's fantastic. We are still repairing from last night's Monday, March 4th spectacular that we had here. Ari, did you get a chance to drop by and see it?
I was not able to drop by. I'm going to start following the Sal's Comedy Hole Facebook page so I can make them.
Yeah, you don't have to be straight to come to the shows here. You could be anything you want.
Good, yeah.
All right.
I'm glad.
We had the first ever open mic showcase show. We declared a winner. That winner was Zach Noe Towers. He's going to be opening the Friday and Saturday shows here. Really good stuff from everybody, though. We had Liam Hales in. We had Big Dave. We had Lance Allen. We had really Kyle Kreis was here. We had strong competition on the mic. We had a drop in from a celebrity guest. That was fun.
Who was a celebrity guest?
You know Jerry Seinfeld, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Well, so did our drop in. He also knew who Jerry Seinfeld was.
Who was the
Jimmy Tallarico. Jimmy Tallarico was the drop in. He was a great guy. They had a lot of fun. I pass people based on the hosts. Pass them to the showcase show based on the hosts of the open mic voting for who they think is the funniest on the open mic.
That sounds fair. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm James Quinn. That's who's doing all the talking. And this is Ari Mannis. He's our producer here at the podcast.
Hello.
We'll be bringing on a fantastic guest. It's kind of a surprise. Anyway, I pass people to the showcase show to see their best 8 minutes, to see if they could possibly pass at the club. And a lot of people gave strong performances last night. One of the people I passed was Ben Scott. So if anyone knows who Ben Scott is, because he never responded to the Facebook request, he never showed up. I hope he's not dead.
I hope he doesn't realize what he missed out on.
He
this
missed
is the
out,
hottest up-and-coming club.
He missed out on
a great opportunity.
What would you say, Ari? You weren't here. I've told you 50 people. I exaggerate by 3. So 47 people were here, counting everyone sitting in the chairs.
That's a lot of people.
We had two cocktail waitresses. That's how the volume was.
They all came from the open mic.
Well, no. The comics came from the open mic.
Right.
The showcase shows are free.
No, exactly.
They're free.
That's a lot of people for the comedians.
Yeah.
Why would anyone miss out upon?
We've pledged here to do free shows when we do these, so that there's no element of bringer involved. If you are on a showcase show and you only get 12 people audience, well, that's on you. That's we're not going to tell you can't perform. We're not going to whatever. But anyway, this Ben Scott didn't show up, and I was stuck. I was really, really stuck because I had a 6-person show with only 5 people. You can imagine how dismayed I was.
That sounds like quite the dilemma.
Right. And what happens in comedy clubs is you look around for the funniest person in the room, and you say, funniest person in the room, get up there. The problem was we didn't have any funny people in the room. They had already performed. Everyone else was friends of the performers. The guest had already performed. So this Ben Scott guy, again, I hope he's not dead. And I hope if anyone knows him, comics listening, please tell him he missed his showcase show. He missed out on an opportunity to open Friday and Saturday night. Anyway, my point being...
I think he should write an apology letter.
No, that's fine. He missed out on his spot. That's all.
Yeah, that's the punishment.
Yeah, I hope he's not dead. I really honestly have that feeling. I hope that there's not trouble brewing. I hope that whoever Ben Scott is, wherever he lives, I hope he's not trapped underneath his refrigerator because it fell on him, and he's calling out to his neighbors, and his cat has gotten desperate and has started eating off his toes, sticking out from the other end, and he's screaming in pain. Oh my God, I have to get to Sal's fucking comedy show. It's my showcase. Get me out of here. And none of the neighbors care because they all speak Korean. This is Los Angeles. They don't care. They're not going to free Ben Scott. They're actually kind of hoping that he dies and stops ruining their daytime Korean soap operas that they're watching on Channel 39. So anyway, the whole point of this being, I looked around and I stumbled across a fantastic comic waiting in the wings, a young man who I know quite well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast to relive his exploits from last night, Mr. Naz Janus.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
Hey, Naz.
Yeah, I was there. I saw it.
You were there.
Did you perform as well?
Yeah, I gotta bring it on home.
How'd it go?
I liked it. It was really cool. The audience was really cool.
That's great. Sounds fucking awesome.
Now, here's the thing that you don't understand about the roadblocks that were in Naz's way to perform. He came out here with his life mate, Dustin Creature, his roommate in a single apartment that he lives in with him. When Naz goes to sleep, he can see his roommate's feet. So that's a really important thing to remember, how poor these guys are. They do everything together. We call them the Knucklehead Twins. We call them Heckle and Jekyll sometimes.
I didn't know that.
They're both always high. Am I right, Naz?
Yes, I'm high right now, and it's working out great.
So last night he came to the Showcase show as just a friendly comedian going to support some friends, right? He was just going to support some friends. He and his buddy Dustin. Am I smoking in your face, Naz?
No, I actually would prefer if I'm going to pick up your refry when you put that out later.
Refry. I don't know what he just talked about. That's part of my problem. Anyway, so he and his life mate come out to the show. They're going to support some friends. They order a bucket of beer. And that's 6 beers in a bucket. 6 beers in a bucket. They drink those 6 beers. I'm imagining you split pretty even with your life mate. Was it 3 and 3?
It was 3.5 and 2.5.
Who had the more?
I'm lying. My math's not good.
Your math's not good enough to figure out fractions.
No.
Naz is they have the bucket of beer. It's still early in the show, Ari. It's still early in the show, so they get the confidence to order a second bucket of beer. So a second.
And that's before Naz goes up on stage.
He doesn't even know he's going on stage yet.
Truthfully, we had gotten here and immediately ordered 2 buckets, but that's illegal.
Right. We didn't do that.
Is it illegal to order 2 buckets?
To serve 2 buckets, so we got
we
one.
served them.
Why is that illegal?
You can't overserve someone, Ari. You have to watch them. It's part of the law when you're serving alcohol to people. You don't want stumbling drunk people to stumble out of your...
No, that makes sense. I just didn't know you couldn't do that.
So there's such a thing as being too drunk at a bar.
It almost came in handy
So even
last
if
night.
each of you ordered 1 bucket?
No. I can't serve a bucket to one person.
One pitcher.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
A bucket has to go to 2 people or more.
Okay.
The minimum is 2 people.
Got it.
Because I can't serve that many drinks to one person at one time. I have no way of knowing how he's going to be towards the end of the drinking experience. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
I'm sort of reliving my drinking experience right now.
So Naz and his buddy Dustin. Naz, you're the better looking of the 2, right?
Thank you. It's true.
It's true. He's the buddy's falling apart. The buddy Dustin, nobody at home knows him, and nobody ever will, because he's never going to make anything of himself. He honestly is falling apart. He's getting fat again. He's too fucking shaggy. His hair is floppy, and it's gross.
He knows. It's part of his shtick.
All right. Well, anyway, so they're both comics, and they're sitting here. We turn to Naz, and we say, Naz, we have a personal relationship here at Sal's Comedy Hole with Naz. Naz does a lot of work for us. We turn to Naz, and we say, Naz, it's time for you, buddy. It's time for you to close the show strong. And Naz looks up from a dreary, bleak place that he was living with his depression juice and his life mate that's ugly and floppy. And he's
just a side note. He's throwing all this life mate shit out there, but it's not.
It's not a gay thing. It's not a gay thing. It's your best bud. It's your best pal. Do you touch his penis ever?
No.
Oh, it's not a gay thing. Listen. Anyway, so Naz looks up at the stage and he says, give me 3 minutes to prepare. And so we stretch the comic on there. Naz does some stretching exercises in the back. He does a little of that shadow boxing. Have you ever seen that? Chris Rock do that? Naz does that as well. He stumbles to the stage and he crushed it. He crushed it for 8 minutes.
That's
8
awesome.
solid crushes. It was 8 minutes. I thought you did a really good job, Naz.
Thanks, man.
So he did really good, but Zach just did great that night.
Well, Naz didn't qualify to be the person passed because he was dropping in. You know what I mean? The showcase
that
is
makes
something.
sense. Okay.
The showcase is something you're going to prepare for. It's something you're.
I see.
Open mic, they all earned it. They all.
Yeah, they earned their spot. They came in and they did it. And Zach Noe Towers. What did you think of his set, Naz? You were in here, right?
Yeah, it was funny.
He rocked.
I never seen him before.
Really funny. And that's a protege of mine.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Zach, I started him in comedy 2 years ago when we were working together at another place, and I said, Zach, you're really kind of funny. And this happens to me in life, Ari. It's something I'm going to warn everyone about. Now he's better than me.
So basically, he wouldn't be funny if it wasn't for you.
No, he was funny on his own. He just didn't do stand-up yet. And I got him started in it, and honestly, I was watching him last night, and I said, well, he's better than me now. I have an extra 1.5 years of experience on him, but he's whatever the fastest man in the world feels when he's lapping the fat loser at the track. and he's like, oh, I'm going to do 4 more laps, and that loser's only going to do 1. That's how that's how I'm starting to feel, like the loser, not the fastest man in the world. Ari, do you feel like that ever?
Yeah, I feel like the fastest man in the world a lot. Yeah. As I'm passing people up.
I feel like Michael Johnson, the former fastest man in the world,
right, who got in trouble and had to give his medal back.
Yeah. He was on roids, right?
He's a Canadian runner on roids. You would think you could trust Canadians of all people, but didn't he break the world record? Or maybe no, he was an American runner. I don't know. I don't know my Olympic history.
He was an American runner. He is now located in Texas. He owns a world-class facility where he trains future Olympians. Is it
called Juiced?
I don't remember
That'd
the
be
name.
cool.
Well, that's why I started doing steroids.
Because of Michael Johnson?
Yes, it inspired me.
I started doing steroids because of Sammy Sosa. I thought if you can get away with it, I can get away with it too.
I started using a cork bat.
Well, yeah. You got to use a cork bat too. I mean, you can't just trust the steroids alone. Believe me, everyone else is on steroids. You can't trust it alone.
Just in the gym with a corked bat.
Yep.
Swinging.
I needed I needed Naz here today. People at home, Naz, besides being a great comic and the better looking of the 2 biggest potheads in Hollywood,
Deemsters.
The Deemsters. I don't get that nickname for you guys.
The Deemsters is it's a.
You're a comic duo, but you never perform together. So.
So it's a rarely used term. Well, that's why I like to use it because nobody uses it. So it's just like. It's pointless. It's pointless to use.
Right. You're like Laurel and Hardy if they did their sketches separately.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. So what is the Deemsters? What does that mean?
Deemsters, it means it's like it's a word people use for DMT, like out in the wilds.
Well, in case everyone at home isn't a derelict, what's DMT? Now?
It's a drug. Everyone knows what it is now because of Joe Rogan and shit. But
because of Joe Rogan and shit?
Yeah. Can I swear?
What if my grandmother is listening to this?
I'm a fan of Joe Rogan, but I'm going to have to call you out
and
say
DMT
I don't think everyone knows what it is because of Joe Rogan. That got popular on its own.
That's good to know at least that people know what it is because it's more out there now. So it's like it's a psychedelic and it's like just super powerful and it's natural in your brain.
It's a mind-bending psychedelic drug that you and your awkward shaggy friend seem to be. You've taken it?
Yeah, we like it, man. It's cool.
There's DMT
I can't tell
and ecstasy,
from your personality.
Right?
No, DMT. Well, some ecstasies are cut with like all kinds of crazy shit. Like,
but pure ecstasy doesn't have DMT in it.
No. Yeah, DMT is just its own chemical. Like, ecstasy is mainly base. It's like pure ecstasy is like MDMA.
That's what I confused it with.
Yeah.
Do you know how lonely my world is as a comic who doesn't do drugs? I drink like we all should.
That's a drug.
Well, go to hell. I drink like we all should, but I don't do any of the recreational partying that. Like, there's never a moment where it's like, oh, hey, let's go out back and smoke weed together, and we'll get to know each other, and we'll talk about future shows, and we can nickname ourselves Deemsters, and we can run around. And I don't have that buddy. I don't have that guy. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Drinking's a drug, James. You're a drug addict, face it.
Well, I don't drink a lot. I didn't drink 2 buckets of beers the other night. Fall down and outside when we were trying to get you to go home. Go home, Naz. You're done with your set. He's still doing material out front at 3 in the morning. No one's here.
I was trying to slip bits into conversation to see if they're funny.
Well, yeah, you were doing a good job at slipping, but I don't know anything about bits. He was stumbling all over.
Yeah. Held my shit.
So we have a lot of great shows coming up at Sal's, and I gotta tell you, I'm not just managing the comedy room, which is the hardest thing in the world to do. If you've ever, let me take you through putting on that first showcase show, if I could, Ari.
Please do.
The hardest thing in the world to do is manage your emotions. I invited comics to come down. We've made this pledge, no bringer shows. So I'm not going to email them and say, how many people are you bringing so I know, blah, blah, blah. So a couple of encouraging little, hey, how you doing? Are you ready for your show? But nothing like, how many people you bring.
Right.
7:30 rolls around, there's absolutely nobody here. Not even the comics. The show's at 8:30. And I start getting that, oh my God, my boss is going to think I don't know how to do this job. I started everything that I've come to believe, that bringer shows are cancers, and I'm going to kill everyone that offers a bringer show, and that I'm going to make it without bringer shows. I started thinking maybe I need to do a bringer show here to fucking make this room happen. I started getting nervous in the pit of my stomach, and I started thinking maybe just Los Angeles isn't built for comedy. Maybe we've all comedied out because everyone's got a roommate or a buddy or a friend that does comedy, and you've already seen 3 of their terrible bringer shows, and you don't ever want to go to a comedy show again. How do you open a new club and get around that? So careful. Are you drunk now?
No.
All right.
Can we?
That was Naz just nodding off at the microphone and hitting his forehead against the table. That was kind of great. Are you bleeding?
I thought it looked cool.
All right.
It's a little like
that's a
trickle.
lot of drugs. So I'm getting nervous, Ari.
Right.
Ari, I'm getting nervous. I don't think anyone's going to show up for a free show, free show.
Right.
And I'm turning to my boss, and I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, listen, it's early. It's Los Angeles. We'll hang out. We'll see what happens. 20 minutes later, we've got 50 people in the room. They're all ordering beers. They all show up 2 at a time. They're all happy and smiling. I'm here to see Liam. I'm here to see Zach. I'm here to see Big Dave. No one said I'm here to see Big Dave, by the way. I'm here to see Lance. I'm here to see whatever. So the room fills up, and now I've got cocktail waitresses running around getting drinks, and I don't know when to start the show because I don't know when people are going to and this is how inexperienced I am at producing shows. You have to make it so it's an experience every time, and I don't know how to do that. And I come in, man, what do I do? And then Sal comes in, just hits the mic, brings the host up. Jason Helfgott did a great job hosting for us. Brings the host up. The host starts just getting the crowd into it. A few more people filter in, and by the time the host was done, we had a set crowd. We had every table full in here. We didn't bring in the extra tables, which is what we'll do for enormous shows, but we had every table full. We had drinks on every table, and the comics got to perform for a great crowd. It was just one of those amazing moments, of all time.
Where you see the club in action.
Well, I called Guinness, and I asked them if I qualified for some sort of world record because no advertising, no bringers, and we got people out to a show in Los Angeles. No famous people involved in it whatsoever.
It sounds
no
incredible.
Advertising,
except for James Quinn.
No bringers, no famous people. And people came out to see it. And I think they had a good time at comedy. I think they also had a good time with the buckets of beer.
I think it also helped that it was probably the funniest show of the last 20 years.
Wow, it was good. I did call Guinness. I want them to come down and measure the next show for laugh quality. I think that we're going to get the purest laugh quality, like the Guinness World's Record of purest laugh quality of all time. And so now I'm in this drowning pit now where I all of a sudden realize I have to do this every Monday. I have to have the same roller coaster ride of emotions. Are people going to show up? Are people not going to show up? Did I book the right people on the show? Did the comics pass the right people from the showcase? Do I have the right people? So I don't know, Ari. I don't know how I'm going to survive. And then today I come in. Naz, you don't even know the half of it. Today I come in, and listen, we're also a restaurant here at Sal's Comedy Hill. We've got great food out front, and we just signed up with Grubhub. Did you know Grubhub is on the computer. You order food. You must know that, Ari.
I do.
You're very chatty today.
I've heard of Grubhub.
Anyway, so I come in, and I'm supposed to do flyers, and I'm supposed to book comedians for future shows, and I'm supposed to make phone calls, and all of a sudden I'm running to Koreatown to do deliveries because Grubhub, we turned on the computer, and this morning we had 10 orders. It was our first day of Grubhub. They just started spitting out, and we didn't know what to do. We don't have a driver. We don't have whatever. I ran all over town, delivering omelets, delivering tuna wraps. And meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, I need to get back to the comedy room and do flyers for these shows. Like, it's ridiculous. You can speak up anytime you want, Naz. That'd be great.
I don't know. Well, it's I think it's a good system. I think it's gonna work out, man. It
was a good show. It was a good show.
People bring people, and last night was really cool.
Naz,
it was a good crowd.
How long have you been doing comedy?
I've been in LA like a year and a half, and then I did it twice a week for 2 years before that.
In Tucson?
Yeah.
So in Tucson, you were sort of just going to mics, but the same mic. Was it the same mic all the time?
There was one at a comedy club, and then there was always like one at a bar or something extra, and it changed a few times, but there was always like one or two extra. And
so you hit the ground running in LA a year and a half ago. You and your buddy moved out here together, right?
There was 3 of us originally. The Deemsters was a group.
What happened to the third?
He just didn't work out.
So you were a comedy trio, and now you're a comedy duo, but still you don't perform together.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, we do sometimes. You know, we're trying. We're on schedules.
I would
different
love
schedules.
for you guys to keep that going until you get a sitcom.
Hell yes.
But here's the catch. You're never in the same episodes with each other. Like, it's called The Best of Friends or something. Like, you know, and you guys are just the lifelong best friends, and you never see each other. Like, you're in one episode, the next week it's him, the next week it's you, and we just
hear, like, stories from the set. We just secretly hate each other.
You hate each other. You never speak.
We're never in the same scene, but they just scrape together, like, reaction shots and put them next to each other.
But you share a trailer. You have to be, even no matter how big you get, you have to still live in the size of a studio apartment where you can see his feet when you sleep. So, Ari, what's new with you this week?
This week, I think I'm hosting Juice again on Thursday.
Comedy
but I'm not
Juice.
Sure
How did that go? You were nervous.
I was very nervous.
Who did you bring up on stage at the Comedy Juice while you were hosting?
His name is Patrick Melton.
Oh, Patrick Melton.
Is the guy who went up right after me after I did my 8 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out to be great. It was fantastic. I'm going to help Mark out again this week.
You hosted the whole evening?
No, we ended up bringing each other up tag team style.
Tag team all night. So
but I wasn't nervous about the hosting part.
You were nervous about your 8 minutes up front.
Yeah.
Okay, how did it go?
It went great. Ice House is a great audience.
Ice House.
It was my first time doing the main room there.
How many people in the crowd? Full?
It wasn't full, but there was a good sized crowd. Probably.
So like 11 people.
Yeah, probably like 150 people.
Oh,
I don't
cool.
know.
That's
yeah.
awesome, bro. Congrats. That sounds fantastic.
Thank you. It was cool.
So I go to your website there, StandUpTalk.com. Did I have that name right?
That's correct.
And I see my podcast is up there.
Your podcast is up. The first 2 episodes are up. Actually, new in that, we just got SoundCloud reached out to us and offered us a free premium account to try out their service. So now we are on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Wow,
you can find us any of those 3 places.
I'm gonna have to listen on SoundCloud, Naz. That sounds like something. Can I get it on my phone? Can I get?
You
sound?
can
Look
if you
that.
have an iPhone or an Android phone.
It's amazing. So I go on to StandUpTalk.com, and I'm looking at the horrible quality of the writing in every one of the articles.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And I'm thinking, shouldn't you hire help to do that? Shouldn't you farm out some of the...
I would love to hire help. Unfortunately, I don't have any money to do that. But I do have a link in the bottom that says internships. 0 people have inquired about an internship.
This is so far. You're so dry, Ari, that this is starting to sound pre-planned. I'm just plucking questions for Ari, and he's got it's so. Anyway, so I go on StandUpTalk.com and I look at my podcast. And my podcast looks fantastic. It looks enticing. It looks appealing. Next to it are other podcasts, Ari. You didn't tell me that I'd be sharing a page with a bunch of losers doing a podcast.
I thought I did tell you this. What Stand Up Talk is, my goal for the podcast section of the site is to be a stand-up network
a whole
of
stand-up
podcasts.
network.
And but why that can benefit this podcast specifically is, let's say someone's listening to this podcast right now.
That would be like pulling teeth.
Right, but let's say someone.
I like it. I'm listening to it, and I like it.
If someone made it this far into the episode, Naz, they're probably tying a noose to hang themselves.
So listen.
Go ahead, Ari.
Let's say someone's listening to this podcast.
Let's
and
give him a name.
Loving it.
Let's give him a name.
George is living it.
George is loving it.
He is loving it.
Yep.
He's listening to it. He says, how do I get more podcasts?
And we want to deliver more podcasts to George.
But let's say he listens to ours every week, but he's like, I want another one to listen to tomorrow.
George isn't going to be true to me. He isn't going to stick to me.
He's sticking to you, but
I
he wants
will invite
another.
George
it's like,
out.
how many TV shows do you watch, James?
Yeah.
More than one. So he's going to say, I need a second podcast to listen to.
All right.
Well,
he's
guess what?
Tell his friends.
We have a network of podcasts he can listen to. But how that can help you, let's say he's listening to one of the other podcasts.
Wait, George is listening to one of the other podcasts already.
Let's say Frank is listening to another podcast, and he goes, wow, I love this other podcast. I need to check out more podcasts. Oh, what's this Sal's Comedy Hole podcast on the same website? I'm going to listen to that one. So the point of this is all the different podcasts build each other up.
Right. They're
not your
building
competitors.
each other up,
they're
Naz.
your teammates, and you guys are helping each other build.
That's why I told you not to complain, Naz. They're building each other up, these other podcasts.
Well, I know, because I've already subscribed to the Sal's Comedy Hole podcast, the Deemsters podcast, which does not exist.
Wait, the Deemsters can't have a podcast? You live in a single apartment. No one's gonna. Well, who's gonna buy the equipment? Your buddy works at GameStop, for God's sakes. He's got floppy hair. He's getting fat. No one likes him. How do you justify even thinking you could one day have a podcast? You're never going to have that.
It's just us talking on the street. That's what our podcast is.
If you guys record a podcast, I will put it on the Stand Up Talk network.
We don't even have iPods. We just Zunes.
You know what happened to Naz?
Zoom H4Ns?
You know what happened to Naz? Naz the other week, his cell phone broke, and I needed to get a hold of him for Sal's Comedy Whole Business over like 4 days. And I'm sending texts, and I'm calling, and I'm getting, a voicemail, a random voicemail, and I'm leaving messages, and I'm sending texts. And by the end of the 4 days, we had completely given up on Naz, completely. And then he just strolls in nonchalantly, and we're going to yell at him. We're going to fire him. We're going to take this kid out back and say, get the fuck out of here. You didn't come to work for 4 days. And he turns to me, and he says, well, I don't have a cell phone.
But why did that excuse him from not showing up to work?
I have no idea. Naz, how did you wriggle out of that?
First of all, I was just like, whoa, what's going on?
Naz is the greatest utility guy in the history of the world. If the Comedy Store has a spot for him and they try to steal him, I'll pay him more. End of story. End of story, because Naz does everything around it.
So he's that good to where he could not show up to work, yet he still has his job. That's power. That shows talent.
He could have been in jail all 4 of those days, and I don't care. I honestly don't. He did a good enough job when he was here. Amazing. Like, all right, listen. Can Naz bust a table? Yes, he can. Can he set a comedy room up? Yes, he can. Can he walk people to chairs and do whatever? That's all immaterial. What he does mostly is he fills the room with a pothead spirit, like a relaxed kind of, I don't care, and everyone feels that. We all relax. He's like a totem Indian out front of a cigar store.
We like to call it secondhand tripping.
Secondhand tripping. He shares the trip experience.
So he's getting paid to do all this. Do you want to do a free internship for Stand Up Talk?
No, I'm not sharing it.
You got a full plate now.
I've got exclusive rights on Naz.
This guy's beating me to death.
You can have Dustin if you need Dustin, but
Dustin,
I've got exclusive rights. Listen, when he gets home, he's not going to be writing any articles. He's going to be playing. What's the game this week, Naz?
Fill the bowl and smoke the weed.
He's going to be playing Fill the Bowl and Smoke the Weed. I was hinting at video game. You could have dropped a video game reference.
Do you write most of your material while
He
stoned?
lives most of his material, buddy. He doesn't write it. He doesn't write it. He got up on stage and he told the cell phone story and he told the tripping story, and I believe every minute of every story because they happen. Because I've seen some of it happen.
Fantastic.
So anyway, I go to StandUpTalk.com.
Yeah.
I'm there. Ari, I'm excited.
Yes.
I listened to my first podcast. Terrible.
Yes.
I was boring. I was stupid. We had a good guest that day. We had the DeMar Randy show, right? And then, so what I decided to do was have him back the next week to re-record, and we would erase the first episode. But he didn't show up. So I didn't, trust a black guy. You know what I mean? He didn't show up at all. And so we're stuck with 2 bad episodes. But I think this...
You didn't like our second episode?
Oh, listen, I was good, but I don't think it's something that'll go down in the history of time. This episode is the one that's going to really cling people in. And George and Frank, if they're still listening, they're going to roll into the show and just kick ass. That's what I mean.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. So I'm looking. We have a black guy staring at us because I just made the black guy comment. Yeah, that was scary. I'm looking at StandUpTalk.com and I'm looking at the other podcasts and I turn them on.
We only have one right now.
Yeah, Ricky Luna, and who's the girl's name? I've seen her.
Jessica Michelle Singleton.
She's lovely. She's
funny.
Very
She's
funny. Very funny. Ricky Luna, very funny. It didn't translate for me on their podcast. I'm challenging them to do better next time.
Oh, which episode did you listen to?
The first one.
Well, maybe they have the same problem as you. They're just getting...
Probably.
Needed more Naz.
You know Ricky Luna, right?
He's hilarious.
He's a funny guy. A hilarious guy.
I actually really liked the second episode. He had Joey Herman on. He was a psychic.
All right, I'll listen to the second one. Yeah,
so
there was a lot of inside jokes. Like, I'm trying to avoid here by being boring. I'm trying to avoid the inside jokes to keep from cracking you up, and I don't know actually what to say to the people at home. Do you have a list of podcast etiquette that you could publish in hand over to me?
I would recommend engaging the audience.
Right. Engaging them.
Sucking their dicks via speech.
I didn't think we were going to be filthy on this podcast. Naz, do you approve of that sort of language from a producer?
Well, my problem with your podcast is
too many Jews, right? Too many Jews.
That black joke earlier, man. Frank and George, what if they're octoroons? What if you've just turned off 100%
to me?
of our audience?
That's true. What if you did that, Ari?
Well, I didn't make the black joke. You did.
I didn't make a black joke at all. I told you the truth about someone not showing up for a podcast.
Listen, we all don't like black people hanging around here. Let's just get past that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. If George and Frank are listening, we apologize if you're octoroons, but we don't imagine if you're purely African Americans that you have an actual interest in our podcast.
No, we love them, but I don't think they're going to want to listen to three.
What a funny thing to say. We love them. What does that mean?
I
do you
specifically
measure your love
people.
on other races of people?
Yeah,
like, how do you feel about Native Americans? Are you in love with them?
I don't know any.
How do you
Native
feel about
Americans.
Mexicans? Do you love Mexicans?
I actually just kissed a Mexican girl this Saturday.
Wow, you
so
kissed a
I'm
girl?
loving them right now. Kissed her on the lips.
Was that was like a third time for you, right?
She was the 13th girl I have kissed.
Wow. You're still keeping track.
On
It's
the
pretty
lips.
new.
Yeah, it might be 14. That's how many girls I've kissed. It's either 13 or 14. I could count it out, but I don't want to do that right now.
God, I almost have that many ex-wives. That's how different our lives are.
What ethnicity are you, Naz?
I talked about this. This is one of the gems that I dropped last night. I say, people are always like, "Oh, you're so exotic," and I have to break it to them. I'm like, "No, I'm just Mexican."
But you're the strangest Mexican anyone ever encounters because I immediately thought you were Italian, especially with your crazy real name, which you're not allowed to say on my podcast, because I got part of it from your stupid voicemail.
Yeah, I was
By the way, everyone,
peeved off about that when my phone
Naz
was
Janus
broken.
is one of these horrible comedians that doesn't think his real name is interesting enough, so he's made up a phony fake name. And they're all doing it nowadays. No one wants to stand behind their words, and I think that's why I struggle so much on stage, because I'm the real me, and whatever I say, I'm going to be held accountable for. So when I'm doing a Holocaust joke, which I will not do, by the way, when I'm doing a Holocaust joke, I can't take account for the fact that it's my real name stands behind it. You get to hide behind a phony character that you've created. Jabbar Randy gets to hide behind a phony character he's created.
That's why
my name is real.
Your name is real, Ari? That
Yes.
might be why you're so boring on stage. You're
Thanks.
not boring on
Thank
stage.
you,
But
man.
you open
Thank
Comedy
you.
Juice.
Yeah, but I didn't get the guy who books Comedy Juice had never seen me do stand up when he booked me. So
Why did he book you? Did you promise to bring 3 people?
I did not. He was not a bringer, but he liked me and he gave me a shot. He helped a young comic out.
That's
and
nice.
he watched part of my set and he heard good things and he liked it. So
Man.
everything.
You know
my
how to
life.
grip someone when you're telling a story. I got to tell you there, when you got to the he liked it part of that story, I was enthralled. I couldn't look away. I was wondering when your emotion
Hey,
was
do you
want to
hear what the opening was to my set?
Yes, please.
I said, "You guys ready for some dick jokes?"
So you opened hacky.
Yeah.
Like, that's good. That's good. You guys ready for some
I've been
jokes?
opening with that a lot lately.
Did you do it in a funny voice?
No, just normal, like that. High energy.
Yeah.
You guys ready for some dick jokes?
I'm working on a funny voice bit. I guess I'll do it on the open mic tonight, and I guess I'll do it here at Sal's Comedy Hall. I'll premiere it here, and if it becomes my permanent stage character, then I'll be dead within a year. But it's a funny voice. Naz, do you do any funny voices when you do the comedy?
I like to do Steve-O in the Crocodile Hunter.
So the answer is no. You don't do
Wait,
no
Steve-
funny voice.
Oh, no.
I do Steve Irwin.
Oh, Steve Irwin.
I thought you said Steve-O.
O.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Oh, no.
Steve-O in the Crocodile
So
Hunter.
being Mexican, does it upset you that as a white Jewish male, I kissed a Mexican girl on the lips?
Why would that?
No,
we live in a.
Jesus Christ. It's a free society.
Yeah, we live in a century
we're
where
modern
even that
men.
question is offensive, Ari.
Wow.
Like, why are you
Jeez.
why are you presuming that he's got a racial hang-up that you need to apologize for?
I'm just
Naz,
trying to provoke him. You know?
Okay.
I'm just trying to provoke
I
some
mean,
stuff.
And that's new racism, by the way.
Good
that is
Lord.
new racism, is being friends with everyone, but still maintaining that they have something different inside their brains or their bodies.
Racism will never go away.
That makes
not
them-
as long as I'm around.
So what you've done is you're actually a pretty liberal guy. You skateboard and you do stand-up comedy and whatever, but you've taken your racism compartment in your brain and you've given it a more socially acceptable place for you to cling to say, oh, Naz, hey, I kissed one of your ladies. Do you mind?
One of your kin.
I didn't see her as a person. I saw her as a brown figurine that I got to play with and toy. How old was this girl that you were making?
She was 18. She's
18
a
years
senior in
old.
high school. No, actually, I'm going to edit that out. She was 18.
Are you going to her prom?
I will not be doing that.
Oh, man.
No, the funny part
You
is...
get a limo ride and everything out of those proms.
If I may talk for a minute.
Please.
I'm the type of guy who wants a relationship. I'm a lover. I like to cuddle.
That's gay.
It's gay. And
I mean, you're young. Why can't you live your life before you come up with some stupid
I'm lonely.
theory on how you
I'm
want to kill
lonely,
yourself?
James. I want a wife. But anyway, so...
You're lonely, you want a wife, did you just say?
Yeah. So
what the hell kind of thought is that for a skateboarder who lives in a garage in the
Exactly.
aunt's house?
You're right.
Who keeps everything in a duffel bag and drives around in an American car, for God's sakes?
Yep, I
How
only
ghost
drive
do you have
American.
to get
I only drive
to realize
American.
that you have nothing going for
Exactly.
you? And no lady
I know
with
that.
half a brain.
Exactly.
The most you could get would be like a meth addict that you pulled
That's
off
the
the
problem.
street and you said, listen, could we get married in Vegas? And she would say, is there meth in it for me?
Yeah.
That's the best you could do
You're
right
right.
now. in
And
your
that
life.
exactly, and that's why I'm not married. But let me continue with this story and say, so I'm looking for a relationship. But the past 2 weeks, somehow the only girls' numbers I've gotten, not that I am aggressively going for girls' numbers, but
Right.
it just so happened that I got 2 girls' phone numbers, and they were both 18 years old. Now I'm looking for a relationship, but at the same time, I'm not going to just go out with anyone.
Ari, do you
So-
shave? Like your face?
Does it look like I do?
Not really. It looks like you grow hair, but like how quickly do you grow hair? Like do you shave
So
daily?
I usually shave once a week.
Because this is
roughly.
what I'm saying. Young girls are attracted to you because you look young as hell. That's
Well, I
what
am young. I'm
yeah,
23.
you're 23, but you look. I would card you any time that you ordered a beer in my restaurant.
Okay. Well, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So anyways, so I get these 2 18-year-old girls' numbers.
Not like Naz, by the way. Naz is all man. Naz can order a beer anywhere he wants in this city.
Yeah,
and Naz can bang all the 18-year-old chicks that come on to him because he's all man. But go ahead, Ari.
So these 18-year-old girls, I don't want to go out with them in a
what if
relationship
they're
way. I'm
listening
just
right
trying.
now?
I'm just trying to insert myself inside of them.
What if they're
And-
listening right now? You just made young
They are
girls.
not listening.
Why aren't they? Did you ban them from the computer?
I
Did you
blocked their
Did you
IPs from the
call
site.
their parents and say they
I called their
shouldn't be
parents.
allowed to listen to my podcast?
Exactly. It says explicit right there on the podcast.
Get
So
your
anyways,
parents' permission before going
but
online.
these
please
2
do.
girls are the exact opposite. They're looking for the relationship. They're taking it slow. So it's like, yeah, it never works out the way you want it to.
It doesn't sound like it. I don't know 3 things. First of all, why you would want a relationship with someone that you would openly bag on the
I don't.
air.
I'm saying I don't want a relationship with these girls.
What, they're ugly?
No, they're just
Ugly
too
girls?
young.
Too young.
We're too different.
Well, what do you want? Like a 42-year-old with
you
with
know,
broken
another
dreams?
20-something-year-old.
My wife
Early 20.
my wife has a master's degree, Ari. Master's degree in early childhood education. She could get employed anywhere in the country. You're measuring these poor 18-year-old girls by what?
Maturity and age.
Maturity
We had
and
nothing
age.
to talk about.
And that makes sense. I guess.
And it's not because
So
I'm
why
not
did you
interested.
why did you kiss them then?
You know,
You're such a good guy.
I have
You're
a
looking
penis.
for a relationship. You're not that sort that just runs around town and bangs.
I'm not. But my mouth wanted to kiss
That's
them,
so gay. That's so.
and I'm a gentleman, and they wanted to be kissed.
Yeah.
And
In the analogy, by the way, if you're 23 and you're hanging out with an 18-year-old girl and you kiss her and you tell that story later, that's the same analogy as like the marlin fisher that's out on a boat for 4 hours and he gets one on the line, but he never actually sees it because it gets away with the bait. You're telling a failure story. The purpose of even hanging with an 18-year-old girl, I assume,
is to bang them.
would be to impregnate a condom.
Correct.
That would be the
But
purpose.
that's what I'm saying. It's turning out to take effort to do that. So I'm going to have to go on a second, maybe a third date with these girls to do that. And it's a lot of work for someone that I know I don't want to be in a relationship with. That's what I'm trying to say.
How are you doing with the ladies?
Southern
California. Since you're on shows, you're working, you got money in your pocket every day. How are you doing with the ladies right now?
I really wish that the hostess had seen my set yesterday. I know. It really would have impressed her.
Yeah. Do you think you would have wilted under that sort of pressure?
Hell no. No. Hell no. I was drunk. It was. It would have been. I mean, but still, I feel like. I just like the hostess here. That's like pretty much. That's like. That's all I got on
That's rather sweet.
That's all I got on my plate right now.
I will anonymously email her this podcast.
Well, why would you listen? Why would you do that to the poor guy? He's going to work his angle.
Okay,
He's
I won't send it to anyone.
He's going to work. They're going to be out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the process would have been sped up 1,000% if she was around for like 10 extra minutes.
Oh yeah, they got to see it. They got to see you do the set, man.
Because then I would have been able to work all the material that I have been crafting.
Yeah.
No, I'm lying.
Right. I think you did a great job. I think that you don't give yourself enough credit. I was worried when the boss came and grabbed Drunken Naz. I was worried that he was doing it to run the crowd out of here. I walked in, and he was telling a cop story that was just hilarious. It was just really good. And I know that your buddy Dustin, in the Deemsters, he couldn't get on that stage and do the same thing.
That's amazing, and that's thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Absolutely. I don't compliment unless I've heard.
What
someone
order
else.
did you go up? Were you last?
He was last. We needed someone.
You headlined the show.
Closed the show.
Congrats.
And he had to follow because we had a drop in that experienced comic. You had to follow an experienced comic.
Yeah,
which
was
just worked
good.
the audience. Yeah. So that was really good. What minute mark are we on this podcast?
41.
All right, we're the 45-minute podcast, by the way, Naz. Just letting everyone know. I'm not going to tolerate Frank and George losing an entire hour out of their day. We're going to stop at 45 minutes. So, Ari, tell me what else is happening on StandUpTalk.com this month.
So we are in the process of probably acquiring a couple new podcasts. Jeremiah Watkins has showed
don't
interest.
Tell me about other podcasts. I said what's happening like in the world of real things. Like it's not a pod. Don't tell me about someone's podcast.
Okay, so besides podcasts,
I'm on the best podcast in the country, and I don't even want to hear about this one.
All right. So as far as other things we got going on, we're just trying to cover the news, trying to write more in-depth articles. This has been a very slow week. I think we have only thrown up 2 or 3 things up on the site this week. So that was a bad question for this week.
All right. Well, don't worry about it. StandUpTalk.com is always there. It's always there for your comedy needs. Sal's Comedy Hole on Melrose is always here now. Friday and Saturday, March 8th and March 9th, we're doing our first pro shows. We are going to drop in some great comics. They're going to do. And by the way, we're not going to marathon kill you with these shows. You're going out to a show. It's going to be 2 hours out. It's not going to be I have to sit through 4 hours until I'm embarrassed and sneak out in the dark. No, it's going to be a real show. A host is going to open. We're going to kill you with comedy for 2 hours, and then we're going to kick you out into the night. And then the staff is going to drink heavily. We're all going to take off our pants, and whatever happens, happens. I just want to tell you that's the mark that we've set here.
And also, I want to say that Sal's it's a new place. And you want to come and watch these shows now so you could grow with us and join our family at Sal's. Be a part of the Sal's family.
I don't know how to tell you that you sound very obvious when you're plugging a place, Ari. You want to make it not sound desperate and obvious. I want people to come out to the Sal's because they like comedy, not because they've responded to a plea for help. Now,
it's great comedy.
The 8th and the 9th we have our pro shows starting, and if you say, listen, let's say Frank and George are listening. Let's say they're doing that.
Yeah.
The cover there is $10. If you say we heard it on the podcast, the cover is now $5. So it's $5 off if you say we heard it on the podcast. We saw it on Craigslist. We have one of your flyers. Basically, come in and say something like that, and we'll give you $5 off. How about that?
That sounds acceptable.
That sounds acceptable. And I think for the first Friday night show, it's ladies' night. So, ladies, if you love comedy, we've got some really good-looking comics performing.
I have a penis.
Really good-looking comics performing down here. So, first Friday night show is ladies' night. Come on down, and what are we going to do for ladies' night, Naz?
Ladies get in free, dudes pay twice as much.
Okay, ladies get in free, dudes double the pay. I don't think that we should do that to dudes because it's comedy, and not a lot of ladies come out to see comedy. Yeah,
That's your profit margin right there. Just charge the entire audience double.
Right.
Look for Naz. He's a young, attractive Mexican
So
man.
say you heard it on the podcast, it'll be $5 off. Ari and Naz will be hanging out during the big Friday shows. Ari's you've got a showcase show coming up here.
I do on the 11th. I'm gonna do well. I'm gonna get past here.
You better put that up on StandUpTalk.com every Monday night. You can come see Ari and the 11th. Not every. You're not going to be here every week because that would be the same person every week.
Right.
So put that up on StandUpTalk.com. I'll put it on Facebook. Naz, if you could just tell people on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That would be
just
nice.
Gonna run into some of the crazy people out on the street.
Sure. Anyone working at Subway or 7-Eleven across the street, please let them know that they can come in Monday nights for free forever, unless we have a special occasion, like we have a big celebrity called us and wanted to come down and do the room on a Monday night.
That's gonna start happening all the time.
Well, it's happening really soon, so we might have to cancel one of the showcase shows. It's just, have you heard of Jerry Seinfeld?
Never.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've heard of him. Heard of him.
So has the big celebrity that's going to come down and do the room on a Monday night. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was our podcast for this week. I hope that we've been not entirely boring. We have great future shows coming up. I'd like to thank Naz Janus.
Naz Janus, thank you very much
For creeping us out on the microphone there and this last shot on there. I'd like to thank Ari Mannis, as always, for being our producer. And Damar Randy for checking his cell phone the entire time he's been sitting off in the wings. Good night, everybody.
Bye.